You and Equitable, the team there, seemed genuine. You really wanted to invest in our success, and you saw something in, the two of us.
We're not sure what you saw, but
Something. It was. Yeah.
you saw something. It was. I think of the honesty and the genuineness about it. We were like this small little. We're gonna be this thing when we grow up. And you guys saw that as there's an opportunity that, for whatever reason, you saw our drive and our passion in what we did. And you had to take on a major risk to even take on Z2. Because I think we were one of the first actual business accounts the bank ever had.
Right. We were with another bank, as like Z2 was saying before. I felt the same way they said. I felt like a number there. You walked in, you didn't know who they were. They didn't know who we were. And now then through my wife, who was working with Equitable Bank, we moved over by you guys, and it's been a treat ever since. We can walk in, people know your name. We can call up, and it's more of a family atmosphere, and working with you has just been a blessing.
Welcome to another edition of the Smart Start podcast, brought to you by the Equitable Bank. I'm your host, Tom Sattler. Today, we're all about the business, but we'll have a little fun along the way. Later, we'll be joined by Steve Russell, owner of Wisconsin Legal Blank and Stanger Solutions. But first, we're joined by the two principals and creative directors of Z2 Marketing, Deb Zindler and Corey Zimmerman. Z2 is celebrating 20 years in business and has become a top boutique branding firm in the country. Deb and Corey, welcome to Smart Start.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Where was the first discussion you had about starting Z2?
I'll give that to you.
Oh, we were both working, and we had mutual clients. And I don't know how the conversation started, but I do remember sitting in my home office one night, and we were trying to come up with a name for Z2. And it's back when we had, what was it called? The little Slacky idea where
It was like a chat.
Yeah,
we'll
a
just
chat.
call it a chat.
And so we were going back and forth with what the name should be. And I just remember that's kind of what finally started Z2.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember any of the other names?
They were really bad.
They were like
You don't want to remember the other names?
something about
Mad
dog and
Dog.
Mad Dog and stuff that had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, so we settled on the ultra creative Z2.
It was supposed to be Z squared, but we couldn't get a .com on that. So it went to Z2.
Gotcha.
And the original name was Z2 Marketing Plus Design. We're like, that's a really long name. So then we dropped design, then dropped marketing. So now we're actually just known as Z2.
And what was what made you think that there needed to be Z2?
I think I think that has a lot to do with our paths. So I was on the agency side. I worked for one of the top design firms in the state that specialized in branding at the time. Mm-hmm. And Deb worked on the other side, on the corporate side, and at like a museum. And so her perspective and my perspective actually overlapped in our disciplines in the right spots, where it allowed us to have the same full service qualities of an agency that we didn't think agencies actually had. And that's what kind of started it.
Okay. And do you remember who's your first client?
Oh. Was it Marcus?
No, I think it was
Roundy's.
Woodway. Oh, yeah.
Roundy's.
Roundy's. So we pitched, that's actually, it was just two of us, and they did an RFP for a really big campaign. And Deb and I went in and pitched it, and we landed it within the first week of our being incorporated. And we're like, uh-oh.
Now we
How are we doing this?
And then we hired, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what differentiated you when you go into pitch? What differentiates Z2 from all the other agencies out there?
Well, I think a couple different things. Obviously, because we are all in house. So, like Corey said, we have both sides of the creative world. So, he does design and web and photography. And then I'm on the, brand strategy and the copywriting. So, when we go in, we are truly able to speak to all of those things. But I also think it's our personalities and our drive to just be, genuine people and make sure that we're really partners. That's a cliche. Oh, we want to be partners. But if you really live that and demonstrate that, I think that's why we've kept our clients and gotten new clients over the years.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we always say our philosophy is to do great work and be human about it. So I call it "Don't suck, be human," and it's basically it is truly doing that. If you love what you do and it's a passion of what you at the end of the day what you love to do, and you can say that you're doing that for a living, right there you're on top of the mountain. So then be a good human. Don't be greedy. Do great work. Give back. So we spend a lot of time giving back, because can't write a check for millions and millions of dollars, but what we do in the creative space and marketing and stuff is, in our opinion, 10 times more valuable than a check.
Right. So you're based here.
We are right outside of Milwaukee in the Pewaukee area.
But your clients have evolved. Roundy's obviously was more local at the time, but it's evolved over the years. So did you ever envision when you started it that you would be traveling all over the place?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. When we started Z2, we didn't have a goal. People was like, "What's your guys' goal as an agency?" And ours was to pay the electric bill. Like it'd be so amazing to be able to pay our rent or our mortgage. Those were literally our goals, and everything else we were patient in allowing, being okay with. We're doing what we love to do, and I know a lot of people that complain about what they do for a living, and we never had that. So even though in the beginning it was a struggle financially, our goal was literally to do that. And then the next thing you know, we landed another account, and we get a phone call, and we land Marcus Hotels and Resorts, and that was 17 years ago, and we still work with them. So the thing that we pride on is our clients we've had for a long time, and we have a lot of national and international accounts, and we're this small little boutique firm in Pewaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that the idea of that longevity, because we are demonstrating good work. So, for example, we had a client who started with Marcus, and when he left, he went to Notre Dame, and we went to Notre Dame with him and still had Marcus. And then he left Notre Dame and came back to Milwaukee, and now we have his account and Notre Dame and Marcus. So it is that really trying to be genuine, don't suck, be human element to it.
So basically, the tentacles or the branches have basically from one individual sprouted 3 different relationships, and I'm sure there's others as well as you go in different directions.
Yeah, we really don't have a sales team. We don't have a business development person. It's all been based off of the work that we do, and that's probably the greatest sales tool we could have is to do good work.
Terrific. So 20 years ago, there's been a great recession. There's been a pandemic. Do you remember all those?
Yeah, I
things?
remember that.
Yeah.
While each of these raising your respective kids at the same time, what's the secret? What do you think what allowed you to survive each of those different elements? And obviously, you didn't survive your kids, but
We're still surviving that. So it's interesting. You go back to the '08, the first one. I still remember this. Deb and I we were seeing the hospitality industry get hit in the '08 one. And first thing we did was we called up one of our biggest ones, the Marcus, and said, just we'll work for free. Whatever you got, we're just going to do everything. There's no ceiling on the services. And so now fast forward to the pandemic, whole different ballgame. As you all know, we technically lost 72% of our clientele in overnight because we are one of the nation's top hospitality firms. And so we had 50 some odd hotels and restaurants closed over across the country. So what we did is we called them all and said, we brainstormed, we were coming up with how they can stay open, and just constantly did that. And we didn't charge a dime for any of it.
And that's now that we're back
Now
to
that
a
pays
level
off.
of
Right.
normalcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
it's
didn't
paid
pay
off.
off then because we wanted to keep our employees busy. We
Yeah.
needed to keep busy for sanity and all of that. But now that now that things are coming back, especially in the hospitality industry, now they they're respecting what we did for them, and they see that, and now we're getting a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that just the overall general, it doesn't matter if the hotel side or the industrial side or the consumer side, because those are the three buckets that we work in. It's the genuineness and being real is more upfront than it was in 19 and before. In 2019 and before, I think everyone was still playing off of a formula. I'm doing this, I'm going to do that, it's going to return, it's going to do that, I'm going to invest in this time, it's going to give me that. There's more of a formula. Now there's more of a heart behind it. And our clients that we work with and all of our partners, even down to our printers that we work with, is a more of a conversation today than I'm shooting them an email and I need this, this, and this. It's a, hey man, what can we do about this thing? And then we get more excited about it. They get excited about it. It becomes something that comes out of that you would never, ever expect. And you weren't planning for, And before the pandemic, I don't think it was as realistic.
Yeah, we've always wanted our clients to feel comfortable and just giving us a call on a Sunday evening because they are excited about something. They saw something that inspired them. Our tagline's inspired, and that we try to instill in our employees too. So if clients are okay and not worried about, oh my God, they're going to charge me if I call them on a weekend, but have that confidence and comfort with us, that's the goal.
Gotcha. So, brand experts, what makes a strong brand?
Simplicity. And not over
Consistency.
consistency, not over promising.
Genuine
is a big one.
Yeah, if you can't live the brand, if you aren't demonstrating it every day, you can say anything in your statement or your brand statement, but if you're not, your employees, anybody who touches it, if they're not doing it, justice, then it's kind of a moot point. Your brand's never going to succeed.
Yeah, I think that what a brand isn't is a logo. It is not a logo. It is not a color palette. It is not a tagline. A brand is something 7 days after you experienced it and how you explain it to the person you see in the produce department. When you say, what'd you do last weekend? How you answer that about the restaurant, about the generator you have at home, that's the answer to the brand. No one's ever going to say, I ate at this restaurant and their logo was amazing. No one has ever said that.
Well,
And
we
they
might
never
have.
will. They never will. And once they do, then all of a sudden the logo changes. I'm like, whatever. But it's all about the service. It's about the food. It's about the personality. It's about the color palettes that are in the space. It's those things. It is an experience.
Yeah.
That's hospitality. And that is, we take everything from that perspective and that strategy, and we adopt that concept in our big industrial. We have, we work with the largest concrete pumping company in the world, and we have that same philosophy with them. And it's an openness. They're like, oh my gosh, everyone's a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's built from the inside? I mean, when you're going in there and you meet with, the CEO or president or the head of marketing, do you need to get to that next level and meet with the employees themselves to kind of get an understanding of exactly what that is? Or do you have to go in and kind of train them as to, once the brand is identified, do they need to understand it, or do they need to already have a genuine idea of what it was?
I would say yes, and I think it's both, because we have to ferret out what that is for them, so it is genuine. You know where they want to go, but it's then our job to distill it down into something cohesive, and then feed it back to them so that they're able to articulate it clearly and concisely and repeatably, all of those elements that we just talked about brand, but they need to be trained on it because it's out of their comfort zone. They don't know. And all we need to do is just focus them.
When you were looking at growing your business, this is a little self-promotion. When you were looking for a financial service provider, what was the synergy that made you decide, or, what was your experience prior to coming to the Equitable Bank, and then you came to the Equitable Bank, and why have we kind of maintained this relationship?
Well, I can tell you that when we started off, it was Z2, and obviously we're larger now. It was just the two of us. But we had tried a couple other banks, and we were
A number.
a cliche, a number. And every time we tried to meet with somebody, there was no open door. It wasn't easy to do. And I don't even remember. I think we met you through a wave game or something.
Well,
And you and Equitable, the team there, seemed genuine. You really wanted to invest in our success, and you saw something in, the two of us.
We're not sure what you saw, but
Something. It was.
so,
you saw something. It was. I think of the honesty and the genuineness about it. We were like this small little. We're gonna be this thing when we grow up. And you guys saw that as there's an opportunity that, for whatever reason, you saw our drive and our passion in what we did, and you had to take on a major risk to even take on Z2, because I think we were one of the first actual business accounts the bank ever had.
That's right.
And so for us, we saw that as an honor. We're like, oh, we can't screw this up for them. So we're like, just keep on going. And then you guys believed in us, and now, we own our building, and everything we do now is, because of the partnership of our bank. Because as a small business growing, you can't.
Well, and I think that's one of the questions we always, because it's converse, we talk about in the banking world is character, and the two people that have, doing all the right things. Thinking about when you say all those things about coming back and giving back to the community and doing all those things, that's what a financial institution is supposed to do. So thank you for that. But, and again, it's right back at you. It's basically become more than just a dollars and cents relationship, despite the fact we do give great customer service.
Yes, we do.
You do.
But also, so I appreciate that. So then back to what does, when you went back 20 years ago, okay, when the two of you were sitting at your computers doing whatever you were doing on messaging or whatever the case may be, any envisions of this actually ever occurring?
Yes, and go back to that, because everything you do as a business owner, and just career-wise, not even connected to a business, you're always striving for a future that you have to work hard for, whatever that future might be. So you always hope that you're better today, tomorrow than you are today. And so to be with the clientele that we have, I never in a million years thought that was possible, but it's something that you have to constantly embrace. The one thing I've learned over the years is knowing when you're in a moment. So many times you realize it after the moment's done. So as we're getting older, I'm like, know you're in the moment, then something can come from that even more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like kids. You were referencing the family. It was, you don't know what they're going to be when they're little, and you look back and time flew, and you're like, those were amazing moments.
Yeah, I've learned just to put the camera down.
It's
It's got to be here. It's like you can sit there and put the camera. It's like I spend all the time trying to, terribly, by the way. So I don't even get to live the moment.
Right.
I shouldn't hire you as a photographer is what you're saying?
Oh, God, no.
But the flute. So all comes around.
Anything else you'd like to add from...
No, just thank you for, like we were just touching on, thank you for being, giving us the opportunities to take the risks with us.
Yeah, truly, and we talk about this all the time, is if we hadn't met you, if we hadn't partnered with Equitable, we definitely would not be the company we are today.
Oh, I appreciate that. One last thing, too, since we're talking about the community, you talked about a foundation, kind of how some of the things that launched. You want to talk a little bit about the This Time Tomorrow Foundation?
Yeah. So because of our giving back and everything we do for Z2, we created a foundation called This Time Tomorrow Foundation, based off a song I wrote in 2001, and now the song gets re-recorded every single year by new artists like Rascal Flatts and Jason Mraz and Chicago and Candlebox, and we talk about a pinch me moment. Those it's incredible. This year we released the 15th version, and it does one thing: raises money to give to people that are fighting cancer across the country, and that are struggling financially. That we surprise them, we knock on their door, they don't know we're coming, give them a check for $5,000, and leave.
Yeah, it's called the Random Acts of Kindness.
Right. And that sprung from
The song I wrote
part of
from
your
my
life. Genuinely came part of your life.
my best friend in 2001 at an agency I worked for was given 3 months to live, and wrote the song. Then he beat it, and he's still alive today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. Joined by Deb Zindler, Corey Zimmerman, Z2 Marketing. Thanks again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now we're joined by Steve Russell, owner of both Wisconsin Legal Blank and Stanger Solutions. Wisconsin Legal Blank has been around since 1905, focused primarily on real estate and rental forms that meet federal and state regulatory requirements. They also own Stanger Solutions. Steve owns Stanger Solutions, which is a one-stop shop for promotional items, gifts, and brandware. Thanks, Steve, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
When did the Russell family actually take ownership of Wisconsin Legal Blank?
Oh gosh, my dad started working there in right around 1966, and then bought it in 74, and has owned it since then, and transitioned it to my brother and I in the mid to late 90s.
Okay. When did you start working there? Was that
I've been working there since 1982.
so
Yeah.
you were about 8?
Exactly. Now 25.
And then when did Stanger Solutions actually come to be?
Oh, let's see. Stanger Solutions was created by my wife before we were married back in the early 2000s. We were actually sitting on her apartment floor, and she didn't like where she worked before. And she decided to go off on her own. And she just went gangbusters. And on her apartment floor, we had 6 logos to choose from. And that's exactly how it started. Just right from there, from our apartment floor downtown Milwaukee.
And Stanger Solutions,
Is her maiden last name.
and it provides promotional items.
Correct. It provides promotional items and all printing products. She was more of a print broker. So, for instance, she could be hired by a large company that would, she wouldn't be hired, but she would be brought in, and she would find solutions to get the product done at a very reasonable rate. And then she would make a little bit and give them the product at a good, reasonable price.
Gotcha.
And it's like a one-stop shop for her.
Good. So then you've kind of blended the two together.
Correct.
And what do you think the synergy is between the two? Wisconsin Legal Blank Forms and
Well, the one thing about the two of them is they both kind of did the same thing, where Wisconsin Legal Blank has kind of grown into just from forms. We also do a lot of other printing as well. And now that we've taken on Stanger Solutions, where Stanger was also doing printing and promotional items, it's mostly kind of grown right in as one big entity. And now that Wisconsin Legal Blank is doing all promotional items, and we've noticed that there is more promotional items being purchased and asked about, even more than printing, ever since the pandemic and stuff.
so when you've obviously been around a lot of things. Again, the Great Recession in 2008, the pandemic. For each of these companies, what are and really when you're talking about the real estate, in 2008 when we had the real estate boom or bust, really, for all
Correct.
intents and purposes, how do you pivot through some of those circumstances? And what was the impact it had? And did you have to learn any lessons after the fact, or was it just kind of back to business as usual?
For us, during COVID, we were deemed essential because of some of the companies we worked with. So we worked straight through that whole time. I think we were closed for a week. But we did not, which is unexpected on my part and even my brother, we didn't see any lull until after COVID and more what's going on now with how the interest rates have gone up. It slowed people buying things, especially print products. We were humming right along during COVID the whole time. And it actually, other than the walking crowd, because you couldn't have anybody coming in, our print side of it was, we didn't really see any hit what we thought would be, where we were very nervous that a lot of places would just back away. They wouldn't have any selling. We wouldn't sell to them or sell to anyone else. It was not too bad. Now, the biggest thing is people they're tightening their belts now, where they're not buying as much printing. That's where we're seeing a lot more branding ideas coming through. And people only buy printing for what they need for this moment right now, and they're not holding anything anymore.
One of the things that we've seen post-pandemic is the idea that are people using as much print? Things are becoming more digital. Are there any pivots you're doing from either area in which you're able to take advantage of?
I'm sorry.
Not at all.
A lot of our stuff is now gone digital. We are, and we're also doing things where they can come and download it right away and use it right on their desktop, their iPad. We do have a subscription-based service as well, and that's what we're trying to focus a lot on. That is completely on my brother's side, that he handles that part of it. And we have subscription bases for rental forms, real estate forms, and so on and so forth. There's there's other form entities that we have, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. But yeah, that's a lot where they pay for a year's worth of time, and they can use them as many times as they want. Or there's the option of just, I need it now type thing, and they can buy one and then print it and run with it.
Okay.
But that's one thing that's been growing for us, and my brother is the architect of that part of it.
Gotcha. So the use of the word Wisconsin legal blank, Wisconsin is only in name only, really?
Correct.
Because have you become, again, outside of just the five-county area?
Yes, so we've broadened completely through the state and the Midwest, and we're slowly pushing ourselves further out and taking a lot of the forms we have and making them universal statewide. There is still that part that the Wisconsin part is kind of follows us, and it's even with that, they can, if they click on some of the forms, they can still get back to see it's Wisconsin, and they do call us to find out if they can use it at a different state, and we gladly tell them they can. The forms that we have, the majority of the forms are Wisconsin-based, and slowly that we have, there'll be plenty that go nationwide that people can use.
How do you think over the next few years, how do you see the evolution of the business? Each of them.
Evolution, the printing I see slowing down and more the branding part growing.
Okay.
The digital aspect of it I see growing quite a bit, where people buy, because all the time we're getting people emailing us and calling us wanting forms for out of state. We get a lot of calls from the Florida area, the Texas area for forms. So I see the forms subscription base growing. As I said, the printing part kind of slowing down. I hope not, but you can kind of see that in the sense. But the branding part has been growing quite a bit for us. And I like doing that. And I like that the forms part digitally is growing as well, that they come to us as well. And we have a name recognition as well, that we've been around for a long time, which is nice. And
yeah.
but again, I like the branding part of it as well.
Okay. So, when you're viewing your financial partner, what do you see in terms of what makes you want to have a relationship with a financial partner in general, whether it's just depositing or opportunities with lending needs, which you may or may not need, but what kind of attracts you to specific lending partners or banking partners, I should say, not lending partners?
So we're a small business in Wisconsin, or in the southeastern Wisconsin, and I like dealing with companies that are in the same aspect, and Equitable Bank was one like that. We were with another bank, as like Z2 was saying before. I felt the same way they said. I felt like a number there. You walked in, you didn't know who they were. They didn't know who we were. And now then through my wife, who was working with Equitable Bank, we moved over by you guys, and it's been a treat ever since. We can walk in, people know your name. We can call up, and it's more of a family atmosphere, and working with you has just been a blessing.
Thank you. And it's right back at you. Well, because it's been a reciprocal relationship. Obviously, we use a lot of
Right.
the different things that the products that you are offering as well. So it's been a very nice reciprocal relationship, and it's great to have a partner who we know
Correct.
is going to deliver, which you can't always say that. So it's right back at you. So when you're talking about the branding piece and Stanger Solutions specifically, I would say
Correct.
where are you seeing that going? I mean, now that you're kind of stepping into that role, what does that look like? What are you going to do to go out and find those different opportunities in terms of, logo wear and how is that impacted by,
So the biggest thing with us is at Wisconsin Legal Blank is they don't really know what we do from our name. And we have a huge clientele list. And it's just working with the clienteles we have now and seeing if I can get in to meet them, because there is so many people that don't even know we do printing right now.
Right.
That is our clientele list. And getting in to see the majority of them is where I'm working on right now, to just show them what we do and just tell them what we can do and see if we can help them out with anything that is in their needs.
What is the most unique item that's been requested from you? Or do I want to know?
Ladies' underwear.
Are you the branded?
Yep. Yep. I'm not going to tell you who, but
I don't want to know.
And I never did it.
You never did it.
No. There's no way I'm going to do it.
What is the most cliche item that you get requested for, and why is it so cliche?
It just depends.
Pens?
Yeah.
Just standard pens with the logo on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're kind of boring.
Yeah. Koozies?
That too. 25-cent koozie that they all get put into somebody's drawer at home, and then you hand them out when you're having a party at your house, and they can take them home. But koozies and pens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you had mentioned your brother, who has also been part of this
Correct.
development of
He's a co-owner.
Co-owner of and primarily when we talk about Wisconsin Legal Blank, we're talking about a lot of it is working through the real estate industry,
Correct.
Renters and things of that nature. How have you maintained, again, since 1905 is how long this business has been? Obviously, you
I
guys were
age
part
well.
of it. Yeah, you do. Incredible. But I guess the question is, how did you keep that kind of going, from the standpoint of, is there networking? Is there things
There's
that you do?
networking. There's a few organizations we belong to. A lot of the lawyers know our name in town, judges. So, and then the law firm that writes our forms is well known in the area. I think our name is just well versed in the area. A couple of the organizations, the Apartment Association of Southeastern Wisconsin, we belong to, and then there's another one called RIA. we belong to them as well. And getting there and kind of talking to the members there as well has been a blessing for new members because there's younger people growing up. A lot of them are the old ones that we were dealing with, and but still, I mean, it's just word of mouth, and I think that people know us because of the forms, but they don't know us because of the printing part that we do and the branding part. The forms have always been with us, and I think that's where the name is synonymous with the area.
So going back to, your dad purchased the business after working there a couple of 3 years.
He worked there about 8 years.
8 years, and then he purchased the business. Did you ever foresee that being kind of the legacy of you were going to take it on? And do you hold, is it kind of something that's...
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it grow and succeed, and for him as a legacy. I mean, there's times where I'll be honest, no, I don't want to be there anymore. I'm going to be honest. But then there's time. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And I love going in the morning. Sometimes I don't like working as late as I do, but it's part of what I signed up for.
Well,
and I do, I do like doing what I do. And my dad built a business and he put his heart and soul into it. And both my brother and I have put our heart and soul into it as well.
Carrying on that legacy. Well, and that's one of the things that I think always attracts us to our clientele is the fact that, your guys, just like we've talked about, are guys that get your fingernails dirty. It's not just coming in at
9 o'clock and leaving at
2 and then hoping stuff gets done. You're actually the guys doing it. And that's kind of, again, what differentiates you. And again, carrying on that legacy, I think is going to be...
Sometimes you have to do it because when you tell somebody, sometimes it doesn't get done. But you have to be there a lot of the time. Otherwise...
Well, thanks a lot, Steve Russell from Wisconsin
Thank
Legal
you for
Blank
having
and
me.
Stanger Solutions for joining us today on the Smart Start podcast. Businesses need people with vision and the willingness to get their fingernails dirty, walking the walk, not just talking the talk. A brand starts with the principles in the organization, and their vision is what keeps them in business. Thanks for listening and joining us on the Smart Start podcast, brought to you by the Equitable Bank. There are no problems, just solutions. Till next time, thanks.